We talked about a 19-1-1 under trend in Major League Baseball yesterday. Today, we've got a 14-1 under trend. But first, a Game 6 to talk about in the NBA playoffs. Mark Zinno, I hate the word momentum, but Denver definitely has it. And if you like them, I'd probably just play them on the money line here in Game 6. But what intrigues us, as we were just talking off air, is the last 3 games have gone over in this series, and yet the total keeps dropping. Your thoughts on that, sir?
Well, I think there's 2 things at play from the odds maker's perspective here. One, it's an elimination game, i.e. very similar mentality, at least for half of the teams playing this game, that it's a Game 7 that needs to be more defensive, right? And if Minnesota is going to win this game and extend this series, they're going to have to do it with defense. And the other component is there some shooting regression coming for the Denver Nuggets after a team that struggled mightily shooting in their first 2 home games? Not only did they regress to the mean for their shooting numbers, they exceeded it. The last 3 games, I should say, 55% from the field, 47% from 3, 57% from the field, 45% from 3, and 53% from the field, 48% from 3. So they have come out and started to shoot like the Denver Nuggets that we're all used to seeing throughout the regular season, and clearly it's benefited them, and that's the reason why these games are going over, because you are seeing Denver score 117, 115, and 112. And so when that happens, there is a certain sense that they might not be able to keep this up. As you and I always joke around, can they shoot 50% and then 47% for 3 again? Yeah, they can. Actually, they can. That's literally a thing that can happen. So don't buy into narratives here. If you feel like Denver's going to come back to the pack a little bit, then maybe Minnesota's the side. But I don't generally feel that way. I think Denver is kind of showing you who they really are. And for all of the Anthony Edwards bluster, I'm not taking anything away from him as a player. Him alone is not enough to beat the Denver Nuggets.
No, he is not Michael Jordan. Joe Ranieri and I joked about that on the NBA tip-off show a couple weeks ago. Interesting, Nikola Jokic, he obviously was presented the MVP trophy before the last game, Zinno. He also basically took away the Defensive Player of the Year award from Rudy Gobert in that game because he eviscerated him down low. That third quarter was like nothing I've ever seen. I mean, the NBA ought to be ashamed of itself watching that Gobert was Defensive Player of the Year, just getting crushed by the MVP down low. I've got another under trend for you. We teased that under trend in baseball coming up. But Minnesota this season is 5-1 to the under when coming off 3 consecutive overs. Just a little tidbit to keep in mind there. Let us know in the comments section down below. Hold on one second. Yeah, just let us know in the comment section down below how you're betting this game. It is the only NBA game tonight. Just 1 game each of the next 3 days, Mark Zinno.
I always correlate the sides and the totals as a way to develop a game script, right? Like, because that's the way I handicap. I try to put a game script together. I'm trying to wonder here if Minnesota can win an over game. I know they can win an under game, and I think Denver, to a certain extent, can likely win an under game. I don't like them. I don't like that game script for them. Denver has to be making shots. Denver has to be able to score, to be in a range where they're comfortable. But I'm just wondering, is there a world where Minnesota can win an over game? Does Minnesota win a 107-102 kind of game, right? Like, does that feel like a possibility?
Here's the thing. You look at the last couple games, and Denver is just hitting all their threes. I mean, Denver is the opposite of the Oklahoma City Thunder in the sense. Last 3 games, Denver has been they screwed me too. Denver's been 47%, 44%, 48% from 3 the last 3 games. Minnesota's been at 30% in 2 of those 3. So, I mean, they're going to need to have. You talked about regression, positive regression. That's what Minnesota needs. 3-point variance is the name of the game in basketball, whether you're talking pro or college these days. And that, my friend, I think is the key for the Minnesota Timberwolves extending their season an extra game.
I mean, even if Denver comes back down to earth a little bit from their 3-point shooting, which again went 47.4, 44.8, and 48.3, even if they come back down to, moderately 41, 42% from 3, that's still more than enough than what they would need to be able to beat the Minnesota Timberwolves. I mean, part of me feels like as much as it's an elimination game for Minnesota, and you would want them to play a very defensive game, much similar to what we talked about earlier in the week with the New York Knicks when I told you, look, they had to have a good defensive game. They had to hold the Pacers up to under 110. They did that, and they ended up winning the game. I think, the two paths to victory for Minnesota were to absolutely clamp down on Denver and hold them to the mid to low 90s, right, where nothing is falling for Denver. Or, I know this sounds ridiculous to say, they got to outscore them. Yes, I know that. But, they have to put up a game where they're going to score 115 and make Denver chase, right? Because when push comes to shove, if the pace is that high, where Minnesota is operating in that, like they did against Phoenix, where they could score 120 in a game or 122, right? If they can do that, their defense is good enough to get enough stops down the stretch to be able to separate and win the game. I don't want a game. If I'm Minnesota, I don't want a back and forth type game, where both teams' stats are similar. I need some variance if I'm Minnesota because I want them. I want to be able to separate from Denver. And when push comes to shove, if this thing is a 1 or 2 point game heading into the fourth quarter, who are you going to put your money on to pull it out and win, right? Because I would put it on Denver.
Yeah, yes, although Minnesota was the more quote-unquote clutch team in game one, but that was probably that all surprised us. And, I wouldn't necessarily bank on that happening again. Would you like to guess, Mark, what the T-Wolves record is this year when coming off 3 consecutive losses?
T-Wolves record coming off 3 consecutive losses. I don't know. 0-0? Have they had 3 consecutive losses?
That is correct. Yes.
Okay.
Give the man his prize. Give that man his money. It is 0-0. This is their first 3-game losing streak of the season. Just thought that was worth noting. Again, let us know what you think of T-Wolves Nuggets down in the comment section below. Let's go to Major League Baseball. It's a short slate, Mark.
Yes.
There is one early game, and you and I both have a take on your Yankees. The Yankees are taking on the Twins. Look at the sweep the Twins. The Twins are favored again. I'll have more on the side in just a little bit, but you are looking at the total.
Yeah, I mean, look, 3 straight games. Both of these first 2 games, rather, have gone under. Yankees win 5-1 and then win 4-0. The Twins' bats have gone silencio over the course of the first 2 games. So I would expect them against Clark Schmidt, who I don't think very highly of as a starter personally. Again, his numbers are great this year, 2.95 ERA and a very respectable 1.27 whip. He does have 47 strikeouts at 42 2/3. But, I just think a lot, I've said it all season long. I think a lot of these Yankees pitchers are pitching above their heads. And for a guy who's typically been better at Yankee Stadium than he has been on the road, he's actually been better on the road this year than he has been at Yankee Stadium. His last 2 road starts against Baltimore and Tampa Bay, when it combined 12 1/3 innings and gave up just 8 hits and 1 run over those 2 starts. So he's been pretty good on the road here, but I think it's time for some aggression for Clark Schmidt. And much similar to me cashing the Chicago Cubs yesterday against the Atlanta Braves, who didn't want to get swept and bust out the whooping sticks, for the Minnesota Twins, who have, again, not hit the ball in this series. Scoring a 1 run and a combined 11 hits in the first 2 games. Guess what? They'll score here, and so will the Yankees. It should be enough for this thing to go over the total.
Well, I hope the Twins are going to score more today than they have the last 2 days, Mark, because I like them on the money line. Yes, I think they're going to score more than 1 run today, and I like the starting pitching matchup from their perspective. Clark Schmidt, you look at his numbers, you dig deep, you drill down. His expected ERA is more than a full point higher than his actual ERA. Tip your cap to the guy. He's got a 7-1 team start record. That means the Yankees are 7-1 in his 8 starts. But I don't think he's as good as Ryan. Ryan's got a sub-1 whip, even though he's got the inferior team start record. And, Minnesota's got a good bullpen. I gave out a free play on the Yankees yesterday. I punched back at the market. I thought where the Twins closed on the money line was a bit too high. And remember, if you go back to Tuesday's opener, people liked the Twins as an underdog as well in that game. So people have liked the Twins the first 2 games. I think this is the classic scenario where they've been the public's been burned by the Twins the last 2 days, so they're going to lay off them. I like the price. I like the pitching matchup. I think Minnesota avoids the sweep. Minnesota was getting a little bit too much what I called residual love in my analysis yesterday because of that 12-game win streak they had against the bottom 2 teams in the American League. But I think they avoid the sweep here today with Ryan on the bump. It's a good pitching matchup for him, and I think the bats do wake up. There's a lot of alarming stats in Schmidt's profile.
Yes. Again, and I'm with you. I didn't dig into his expected ERA. I just know he's not that good. He's not as good as the numbers represent because I've watched him pitch as a Yankees fan. And look, again, I keep telling our good buddy Joe Ranieri and everybody else, at some point in time, these pitchers are going to come back down to earth. It really is one of those things where I don't know when it's going to happen, but I think it is.
Yeah. All right. Best bet coming up in just a little bit. We'll hit on that 14-1 under trend we referenced at the top, but going to tell you what we've got going on at WagerTalk.com on Thursday. Currently available from me is a soccer selection. Goes this afternoon. A little early power hour, Mark Zinno. Who doesn't love a little early power hour? I lost yesterday's soccer play. It was very frustrating. A stoppage time goal. There is nothing worse than losing in soccer in stoppage time. Just take it from me. People in the comments section who did know what the domestic season was, oh, by the way, Mark, they will agree with me again. So I've got that up. I think I'm passing on the NBA game tonight, but I might add a little Major League Baseball. So just head on over to wt.buzz/BP. Despite yesterday's results, we're still at a 67% all sports run the last 6 days. Still 10-3 last 13 in soccer. Still 26-12 last 38 in the NBA. So seeing it well, I'm looking to turn it around heading into what should be a big weekend. And oh, by the way, Friday is going to be Customer Appreciation Day at WagerTalk, which means $5 selections from all of your favorite handicappers, including Zinno and myself.
Yeah, over at the site as well. I will get a play up here tonight in Denver and Minnesota. So as soon as the show is over, we'll get that knocked out. Have an angle that I really, really like. Although NBA wasn't nice to us last night, and God darn, man, our Cleveland Cavaliers third quarter, our Boston Celtics third quarter was a look that everybody loved. We loved it. Unfortunately,
it was a great bet.
Yes, unfortunately, it just did not. It did everything right but cash. So we take it on the chin on that one. But nonetheless, we did cash our baseball bet last night. We've now got 3 straight right in Major League Baseball. So we'll dive into the card tonight as well and try to get a little ugly. I got a little ugly last night, but we might get a little bit uglier tonight on the Major League Baseball card. Overall, though, we're still operating better than 65% in the NBA. And again, coming up with a little baseball hot streak. So go over to wt.buzz/MZ. We'll get some plays up for you guys later today. Don't miss out. And again, Customer Appreciation Day tomorrow on Friday.
All right, best bet time. Mark, I jumped in front of a 19-1-1 under trend yesterday, but you being the good friend that you are, have told me, stop doing that. Stop getting in front of these trends. And we have a 14-1 under trend to talk about today. That is involving the Boston Red Sox, who, yes, are 14-1 to the under their last 15 games, gang. They are looking for a series split tonight with Tampa Bay. The Rays have taken 2 of the first 3 at Fenway. And we do like the under in this game, Mark, but with a little caveat.
Yeah, we're going to look to the first 5 here between starters of Zach Littell and Cooper Criswell. And more of this is about, I gave this first 5 under out yesterday on First Pitch. I want to go back to the well here, mostly because of what we're seeing here from these 2 offenses. The Red Sox at home this year have just been a very below average offense. They're around 18th, 19th, 20th in batting average, OPS, WRC plus, and runs scored at home. Conversely, on the road, the Tampa Bay Rays have hit the fewest home runs on the road. They've scored the second fewest runs, and they're bottom 5 in batting average, OPS, and WRC plus here. We're going to go back to the well with the first 5 under here between Tampa and Boston. Shop around. There are 4.5s out there in the first 5 that you can get, but I would even endorse this at a 4. If you're only getting a 4, if this number starts to come down a little bit, I would still bet the under in a 4 and be willing to live with a tie if you get 4 runs in the first 5. But I just don't know that you're going to get it from these 2 offenses. You look at the scores of the first 3 games, 5-3, 5-4, and 4-3. So they're hovering right around that 9 total for the game. Mostly we stay away from full game here because Tampa's got a bad bullpen. And it can be lit up at any time. They're bottom 5 in ERA and bullpen ERA in Major League Baseball. So let's go again. First 5 under here between Tampa Bay and Boston.
Yeah, you took the words right out of my mouth. I was going to add that on to say that is the perfect reason to drill down on the first 5 rather than full game, is that Rays bullpen. Also, Boston's bullpen has been worse at home than on the road. Their overall numbers are pretty good, but at home this year, Red Sox relievers posting a 4.26 ERA and a 1.23 whip. So the show best bet, first 5 under in the AL East, Rays Red Sox. does it for the show today. Let us know what you think of that best bet down in the comments section below. And if you like what you heard this morning, throw us that like, hit that thumbs up, and hit the subscribe button as well if you're not already subscribed to the WagerTalk YouTube channel. Always appreciate the support. Mark and I will be back tomorrow morning with more free winners in the NBA and Major League Baseball. We got you covered every Monday through Friday here on WagerTalk TV.